Welcome back to Outside Views. I'm glad you're joining me today for a discussion that's tense, deeply political, and quite unsettling. Russia has a new public enemy number one, Britain. The year's 2025 and international tensions are once again escalating, echoing historical confrontations. And two British diplomats have been expelled from Russia, accused of espionage in a rapidly escalating diplomatic crisis. Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service SVR has publicly branded Britain as a warmonger, escalating rhetoric to levels not seen in decades. Moreover, a senior ally of President Vladimir Putin has threatened the seizure of British assets inside Russia, underscoring how serious this confrontation has become. But why Britain and why now? Historically, Britain and Russia have a complicated, often adversarial relationship. But recently, amid shifting global alliances and a renewed focus on Ukraine, Britain finds itself singled out as Russia's main geopolitical adversary. As the United States under Donald Trump moves towards rapprochement with Russia and tries to mediate peace in Ukraine, Britain has stepped firmly into Moscow's crosshairs. According to Russian officials, Britain has taken the lead in opposing Russia's invasion of Ukraine, advocating strongly for military support and even floating the controversial idea of deploying British troops as part of a peacekeeping force. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's proactive diplomatic engagement, including direct lobbying of Trump, has infuriated Moscow. Good for you. The Russian government openly accuses London of sabotaging Trump's diplomatic overtures by consistently pushing for more aggressive measures against Russia. Russia's narrative accuses Britain of perpetuating the war in Ukraine rather than seeking peace. Interestingly, Russia has shifted its focus from its historical antagonism towards the United States, softening its anti-American stance significantly since Trump's return. And now Britain occupies a uniquely hostile position in Russia's worldview, amplified by nationalist commentators on Russian state TV. This escalating hostility has practical consequences. British diplomats in Moscow face constant pressure, and the British embassy is reportedly nearing functional collapse due to ongoing expulsions. Russia's recent expulsion of British diplomats accused of espionage has triggered a reciprocal British response, highlighting how fragile diplomatic channels between London and Moscow have become. But this is far from new territory. The phrase perfidious Albion, historically used by Russia to describe Britain's supposedly deceitful foreign policies, has re-emerged with renewed vigor. Russian politicians openly blame Britain for historical and current geopolitical disruptions, suggesting Britain has consistently sought to undermine Russia's global influence for nearly 2 centuries. And the evidence of hostility doesn't stop there. Russia points to Britain's support for Ukraine's military efforts, highlighting its role as the first Western nation to supply main battle tanks and long-range cruise missiles. Such actions, while praised by Ukraine and NATO allies, have significantly inflamed tensions with Moscow, with Russian officials openly describing these actions as justification for extreme retaliation. Andrei Gurulyov, a pro-Putin lawmaker and former military commander, shockingly accused on Russian state TV that Britain's active military support for Ukraine could justify direct military action against Britain itself. Moreover, Russia frequently accuses Britain's intelligence agencies, notably MI6, of orchestrating sabotage and espionage activities aimed directly at Russia, painting a picture of Britain as an aggressive provocateur. The cases of Alexander Litvinenko in 2006 and the Salisbury poisonings in 2018 are repeatedly cited by Russia as evidence of Britain's aggressive stance. London, of course, categorically denies these accusations, condemning them as baseless and propagandistic. And meanwhile, within Russia, nationalist rhetoric against Britain has reached fever pitch, reawakening historical grievances dating back to the Crimean War of the mid-19th century. Russian state media frequently reminds audiences of Britain's historical role in conflicts against Russia, reinforcing the perception that Britain has always intended harm against Russian interests. I guess with Napoleon was a bit different, wasn't it? Well, economically, the impact of this diplomatic breakdown has been substantial. British trade with Russia has plummeted dramatically, from over £16 billion in 2021 to just over £2 billion in 2023. British businesses like BP have lost billions pulling out of Russian markets. Yet some British firms, notably pharmaceutical giants AstraZeneca and GlaxoSmithKline, remain active despite growing risks. Senior Russian figures have openly discussed further economic reprisals, including potentially seizing British-held financial assets currently frozen in Russia, estimated at around $26 billion. This confrontational posture from Russia is happening precisely as Donald Trump's administration seeks a diplomatic reset. Trump's approach appears to embolden Russia's stance against Britain, knowing it may face fewer consequences from Washington. With Europe increasingly fragmented politically, Moscow seems confident that isolating Britain will weaken overall European resolve. Simultaneously, Russian propaganda is strategically downplaying Britain's military strength. Russian state TV regularly mocks the British military, noting its small size, less than 75,000 full-time soldiers compared to Russia's 1.1 million. Yevgeny Kislov, a popular Russian TV anchor, recently joked publicly that Britain's entire army could comfortably fit inside London's Wembley Stadium. Yet, despite these mockeries, Russian officials privately acknowledge Britain's outsized influence within NATO and its ability to galvanize international support for Ukraine. In their view, Britain acts as a catalyst, encouraging other countries, including the traditionally more cautious European nations, to adopt tougher stances. Thus, Britain's global leadership in the Ukraine crisis makes it particularly potent adversary in Moscow's eyes. And there's also an underlying domestic dimension to Russia's hostility. Russian politicians accuse Prime Minister Starmer, much like his predecessor Boris Johnson, of using the Ukraine crisis to distract from Britain's domestic issues and Brexit fallout. This accusation cleverly taps into genuine frustrations felt by many British citizens, turning internal dissatisfaction into external propaganda points. It's a narrative designed to undermine domestic support within Britain for ongoing involvement in Ukraine. But Britain, for its part, remains committed publicly to supporting Ukraine, dismissing Russian accusations as attempts to distract from Russia's aggression and war crimes. We must not forget that one. The UK government insists that its policies aim for just and lasting peace, contrasting sharply with Russia's accusations of British sabotage. In conclusion, Russia's designation of Britain as its primary global adversary is deeply rooted in historical grievances, geopolitical strategy, and the complex interplay of current international dynamics. With Europe divided, America repositioning, and Britain taking a uniquely robust stance on Ukraine, Russia sees a strategic opportunity to isolate and pressure London diplomatically and economically. Whether Russia's strategy will succeed remains uncertain, but it's unlikely. But the diplomatic consequences for Britain and the broader implications for European security are profound. But I'm quite sure Germany will be on Britain's side on that one. So thank you for watching Outside Views, and please remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. And I would love to hear your perspective on this unfolding geopolitical crisis. Until next time, stay informed and keep looking beyond the headlines, and the next video is right here in the end screen.